Hey everybody, it's me Stacey here at Scrapbooking Made Simple, and it's time for our next Saturday with Stacey YouTube class number 319. What a month it has been. Oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever missed so many YouTubes. There was just so much going on between the California wildfires. And then last week I got so sick. It just came over me. And in fact, you may hear I'm still sick. The doctor says it's going to take about 2 weeks of antibiotics before I am wahoo kachoo. But I am so much better. It has been a month. I'm honestly. Now, an update on Mr. SMS. He is home. I can't even remember what I filled you in on. He is home, and home is still at the rental, although that's getting very heated. The landlord raised the rent quite substantially on us, and so we're trying to work through that now. Our home is currently being rebuilt, the home that burnt down 2.5 years ago. But this morning I woke up and I had an email from our insurance company. The senior vice president of claims, Corey, would like to have a conversation with me, and it does not sound promising. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know what, after 2.5 years, he has to say to me. We put a claim in for some of our personal property, for the depreciation on the personal property. So I had to go out and buy the new stuff and pay for it, front the money to pay for it, and then you submit all of your invoices and everything, and then they pay you back, and then you can pay off the items you just bought. You have to front the money though. So I did this on some of our personal property, and they had to have somebody come and physically inspect that I actually purchased it. I provided them all the invoices, I provided them all the bank statements, I provided them the order numbers, but they had to have somebody come and physically inspect that I really did get it, and they still are not paying the claim, even though it's a non-disputed amount. It just isn't. This is what it is. They're the ones who assigned the depreciation value. So anyway, I've got a call with him on Monday, which scares the bejeebies out of me, because he is the senior vice president of this major multi-billion-dollar company, and I'm just me. But I'm going to put on my big girl panties, and I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to hope for the best. And I sent him an email saying I will be available to talk to you on Monday, and it is my sincere hope that I have to offer you an apology, because I'm assuming the worst, but perhaps this is going to be the best. And if it is the best, then I owe you an apology, which I will do if he only has good news for me. Anyway, Mr. SMS is home. He is on a walker and a wheelchair, and it has been a bear to get him into outpatient rehab. I never thought it was going to be this difficult. He doesn't actually start outpatient rehab until the 19th of this month, which is just crazy, because then it's like all that progress he made, I don't want him to lose, but we're fighting on that front too. And hopefully once we get him going, then they'll have regular appointments. It was getting him even in for an appointment. Oh my goodness gracious. He's had a couple appointments with his cardiologist for the triple bypass surgery that he had. So he had triple bypass and then a major stroke 24 hours after the surgery. So the stroke we're still working through. The triple bypass is looking good. He's healing up really well. He's absolutely exhausted quite a bit of the time. He gets winded very quickly between the stroke and the bypass. You can only imagine that his body just needs time to heal. So that is what we are doing. What else? What other updates can I give for you? So you know about the home. We're rebuilding. We're not there yet. You know about Michael. Yesterday, unfortunately, we had a horrible tragedy here in Southern California, here in my city, Santa Clarita. We had a mass shooting at one of our local high schools, where SMS staff have their children, and children died, and it has just been, you just never think it's going to happen in your neighborhood. I have been in Santa Clarita, which used to be Canyon Country, Newhall, Valencia, and Saugus. Now it's the city of Santa Clarita. I have been here my entire 51 years. We did not have these things happen when I was in school. They just didn't. We didn't have active shooter drills and things like that. We didn't have social media and cell phones and things like that either. And I don't want to say that social media is the cause of all of this, or video games or whatever, because there were things that we had when I was growing up, like color TV and rock and roll, that my parents didn't have. And still we didn't have these violent acts. So I am trying to come to terms with what has happened here at a high school that I know very, very, very well. Saugus High is a legacy high school here, which means it was one of the first 3 high schools here in the valley. I went to Canyon High School. My husband went to Canyon High School. My kids went to Canyon, or are going to Canyon High School. So I just have to I don't want to pass judgment because I don't know why these things are happening. I just know they are. And they need to stop. We just need to find grace for each other. We don't always have to agree on everything, but we do have to have respect for each other and a level of acceptance and grace. Not everybody's going to be your best friend. My mom used to tell me that all the time when I'd come home from school crying because so-and-so didn't like me. That doesn't mean that they're a bad person. That means that they're just not your cup of tea, or you're not their cup of tea. That's what my mom used to say. You're just not their cup of tea. So you go find your people who make up your cup of tea. But you don't harm others. So children lost their lives. It has changed Santa Clarita forever. We are now one of the cities where this has happened, and we're going to deal with it and get through it as best as we can as a community. So much has happened. So much has happened. So I think that those are my updates for you. I think the last time I talked to you, I told you about my employee who stole from me. I'm still ashamed and embarrassed about that, but I'm going to get over that. I am going to forgive myself for letting that happen, and I'm told it's happened to the best of the best of the best, CPAs and lawyers and all sorts of people. So I suppose I'm in good company, a company that I don't think any of us wanted to be, associated with, but at least I'm not alone in this. Now, I also have news about the Shop That Did Not Hop event. We are going to start processing orders within the next 2 weeks. That means if you had a pay later order on the first day, if you are in the first 200 orders, you're going to see an invoice soon. Now, there was 2,000 orders on that first day, so it will take us quite some time to get through the first day. And you may be order 651, or you may be order 1,999. So it will take time to get through that first day, but it is time to start processing. We can start processing. The balance of the product is almost here, and then once it's here, bam, 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 there it goes out the door. So stay tuned. I will keep you updated as we take them up in batches of 200. When we're about 2/3 of the way with the first 200, we'll start processing the next 200 orders. And then those will come upstairs all as a group, and they get filled in the order that they are received in. And when we're about 2/3 of the way, then we'll start processing the next 200. It may take a few weeks to process 200 orders. It may take a few days to process the first 200 orders. It just depends upon how many items were ordered per order, because we physically go and pick and pack and pull and ship each and every item. So if the first 200 orders is filled up with lots of people who only bought 3 things, they're going to go bam, bam, bam. But if those first 200 orders are filled with orders that have 100 items, 200 items, 500 items, well, that will slow things down. Obviously, we could pick 100 orders that have 3 items in the same time as it takes to pick one order that has 400 items on it. So it's just a balancing act, and we're just going to get through it as quickly as possible. But know that we are going to start processing. It is time, and I'm excited to get these orders out to you. I think you're going to love everything. All right, we've got Winner Chicken Dinner to talk about, and that would be from YouTube number 2318, which was 2 weeks ago. We're now on 319. I had to renumber my whole book because all the YouTubes have the Saturday date and the YouTube number, and I had to renumber my entire book. All right, are you guys ready? Our first winner from 318, which was my Simply Defined product mixed in with Creative Expressions luster paste or luster polish and opal polish, and you're gonna win an assortment of that. Let me put my glasses on. And our first one is Elva Hash. Hello, Elva, how are you today? Is that you? Because if it is, you know what you are. Let me hear it. Let me hear it, Elva. I heard. I cracked myself up. Okay. Oh. Elena, do you expect me to read this? Our second winner, first name's easy. I got that. Barbara Hutchinson? I'm going with Hutchinson. Let's see what you all make out. Okay, you all tell me, does that look like Barbara Hutchinson to you? Because if it is, guess what, Barbara? You're a winner, chicken dinner. All right, are we ready? Okay, you're a winner, chicken dinner. You're a winner, chicken dinner. Wahoo, cut you for you. Woohoo! Oh my gosh, and my hair is so long, but Mr. SMS has requested that I keep it long, so I'm doing my best to honor his wishes. I'm not used to it so long, but you know what? If you go back to my very, very, very first YouTubes, my hair was long. I've come full circle. All right, now today I have got some really fun product from Sizzix for you. I have got a bundle of Sizzix that is just so stinking cute. I have also got new product from Tonic for you, Tonic Studios. And hopefully I'm going to show you some things that maybe you didn't know before or haven't seen before or totally forgotten about. And we can pull some of your old things out of your stash, your crafting arsenal, and mix them up with some new things so that you utilize what you already own. That's an important thing. Everything's going to be on a YouTube Yummy, of course, a YouTube Yummy sale. And I think I'm going to have to go a little out of order today because I want something to have a little bit of drying time. So I want you to see it from start to middle to end. I don't want to do by the magic of TV and pull one out that's already done. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to fast forward, speed up this YouTube so that you can't understand what I'm saying because I'm talking so fast because I sped it up. I want you to see from start to finish. So I'm going to tilt on down. I'm going to show you what's going on in the free make and take. Hopefully we are all live chatting right now, and it's good to be back. And again, if I sound a little, well, I am. Hopefully in the next week I will be completely over all of this. And next week is the next release of Simply Defined. And it is Kaleidoscope Dyes. I hope you like them. All right, I'm going to tilt on down and we're going to get started for today. It's good to see everybody. Bye. All right, so, and then I'm going to zoom on in and tilt on down a little bit. All right, so this is what's going on downstairs right now. And this is a die from Sizzix. So super cute, right? Just darling. It is an edge die where we have used it with cardstock. So downstairs they're either making this one or they could be making this one. Isn't that pretty? The color combination's absolutely gorgeous. Or they could be making this one, because the set that you get from Sizzix has all three edges in one set. And it's really inexpensive. It's totally affordable. So you're going to get all three of those dies in one set. Super cute make and takes. But like I said, I'm going to start backwards to go forwards. And to do that, the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the new watercolor pencils from Tonic Studios. They had 2 sets out prior that we've always carried, but now the next 3 sets have landed. You've got pastel highlights. You've got elementary midtones. And you've got dark shadows. So now Tonic Studios has 5 sets of watercolor pencils, and no 2 colors are repeated in between any of the 5 sets. The original sets, I think, were like skin tones and primaries, but now you've got additional sets that are going to work well with those first 2 sets, and they are affordable as well. I want to say they're $14.99, and then they're 20% off of each set. And of course, we'll have the I Want It All bundle. If you already have the first 2 sets, then you know that they are beautiful pencils. Really, really beautiful pencils, beautiful watercolor pencils. And that's what we're going to start with today. So I think I'm going to move those over there, and I might just use the elementary midtones. We're also going to be playing with watercolor paper. This is Strathmore watercolor paper, and it's a cold press watercolor paper. I usually use cardstock to do watercoloring on, but I thought today we might pull out some watercolor paper because there may be many of you out there who have watercolor paper that you bought years ago that you don't pull out to use, or you took a class somewhere and one of the things you needed to buy for the class was watercolor paper and it's just sitting there. Watercolor paper is truly meant to take water. It's meant to absorb it and work with it without it getting all frayy. It lets the medium or the pencil or the ink that you put on top of it move with ease, whereas perhaps with standard cardstock, it works well because I do it all the time, but it doesn't float quite as nicely as it does on watercolor paper. Do you need to buy watercolor paper to use watercolor pencils? No! Like I said, I generally use my 100-pound Simply Defined cardstock, but I thought maybe there's some of you out there that I can show some things to do with watercolor paper because you may already have it. Now I am going to use some of my watercolor pencils, and I'm going to start with my yellow because I like yellow. And the most important thing to know about watercolor pencils is you do not put the pencil in the water. In fact, you never want this pencil to ever get wet. Not ever, nothing, no wetness at all. So you don't put it in the water. You don't get it wet with a paintbrush and then try and use it. No. You want to keep it nice and dry, and you want to kind of color with it. So I'm just going to do a light coloring, and I'm going to take my yellow because you know me and I like yellow. Yellow is just a great base for everything. You can make your yellow cool, you can make your yellow a little warmer, just depending on what you use with it. So can you see I'm using the side of my pencil? I'm not coloring like with the tip of my pencil. I'm using the side of my pencil. And now I've got a nice little base of yellow going on all over it. And I just scribbled, scribble. And now I have my red. And I'm gonna go right over the top of some of that yellow. With some of my red. And again, I'm just using the side. And the reason why I'm not using the tip is because I don't want to scratch the paper. Can you scratch paper? Yes, you can scratch the paper, and then when you put the water on, no matter how much it flows, you still see that scratch. So use the side of your pencil. And that allows you to add the color without necessarily scratching that paper. Okay. Now, new from Tonic Studios, also, their new paintbrushes. Now, we've always sold the paintbrushes where you got the pointy ones in one pack and the flat ones in another pack. Now we're able to do them both at the same time for the same price, actually a little bit less. $12.99 gets you all of the new Tonic paintbrushes, and they're lovely paintbrushes. They are beautiful. They work great. They're affordable. You get everything you could ever possibly need in one pack, and we like them. I like them. I'm happy with them. Had to play with them, but I'm happy with them. I mean, look at all of them. You just get a ton. It's a great value. But again, I had to play with them. Now, I'm gonna take my water and I'm gonna get my paintbrush wet and I'm gonna put it on my paper. Now the idea is to let the water do its thing. Let the water do its thing. This is watercoloring. So you don't want to go back, I guess you don't want to work it so much. You really want to give that water an opportunity to just get in there and do its thing. And because it's watercolor paper, you can add as much water as you want. You can move it around. You can just do whatever makes your heart happy. You can go in circles, but you're taking that pencil and you're making it into a paint. And that's what watercolor pencils do. As long as you use them properly. You don't ever want that pencil to get wet. You want to keep it nice and dry. Now I put quite a bit of water on here and there's no little balls coming up. My paper's not disintegrating. And I'm going to kind of just let it do its thing. Okay, I'm just going to kind of let it do its thing and just make a beautiful background. I could literally add more water to the top and just let the color run. When you're using watercolor pencil or watercolor paper, good watercolor paper, and Strathmore is beautiful, you really have a lot of opportunity to play. Could I go back and add more color? Yes. But this is wet, so I'm not going to want to take and put my pencil directly to my wet paper because I said you want to keep this as dry as possible. If I do that, what happens is, again, I scratch. And when I go to blend it out, you never blend out those scratches. Keep your pencils dry. So then how would you add more color if you wanted more color? Easy. You can even take an inexpensive scratch piece of paper. Doesn't have to be a watercolor paper at all. And you put some color over here and you get it wet and you make a paint out of it and you come back over here and you paint it in. You want to add more color? Okay. Pick it up over here and put it in over here. You can do whatever you want as long as that pencil stays dry. If I wanted to add some yellow, draw some yellow down here. Pick it up. Add it in. Up to you what you want to do. All right, so I'm going to set this off to the side because I want this to dry. It is watercolor paper, so it's going to stay wet, but look at it, it hasn't warped, it hasn't bent. It just stays lovely. I'm going to put that off to the side for now, and I'm going to bring over the first Sizzix product. Put my pencils away. Put my paintbrush away. All right, I'm going to bring over Sizzix. So we have 2 embossing folders for you, but they don't look like your typical embossing folders, do they? They're darker, they're not translucent. They're a deep dark gray. And why is that? Well, they're also much thicker than a standard embossing folder. Much thicker, they don't just bend. That's because these are 3D embossing folders. 3D embossing folders, what is that? Okay, so a 3D embossing folder is where the mold is made where some of the embossing is higher and some of the embossing is lower. so that you have a difference in height on your paper, giving a look that some of them are popping right out, giving a more dimensional 3D look. So some of them are very low to the paper, whereas some of them are very deep. I don't know if you can see this. This one's really deep to the paper, where this one right next to it is just very slightly raised. And I think the best way to show this to you is to go ahead and let's take a piece of paper. This is white core? Why, yes, yes it is. Okay, let's take a piece of paper and let's sand it. Oh, that's very bright and happy. Holy smokes, artichokes. But who doesn't like bright and happy, right? All right. So, I've got my 3D embossing folder from Sizzix, and I have got a piece of paper. Now this is white core paper. How do I know it's white core? If I tear it, you can see that there's white there. That means that this is sandable. So let me take it, and we're gonna run it on through. Now to do this, I need a die cutting machine. I'm going to be using a Sizzix Big Shot today. You can use a Big Shot, a Big Kick, a Vagabond, a Big Shot Pro, a Big Shot Plus, a Big Shot Express. You can use Spellbinders machines. You can use Gemini machines. Gemini, they must have 3D embossing folders. So you should be able to use your Gemini machine. You have options. We are using our Sizzix Big Shot machine, and I've got it right here. Now I've got it with a standard multi-purpose platform. And normally when you're doing an embossing folder, it shows you right here how to layer it. Only we're using a 3D embossing folder. Remember how I said it's so much thicker than a standard embossing folder? That means you have to treat it a little differently when sending it through your machine. Now normally, everything we do in a Big Shot machine gets sandwiched between two cutting pads. I mean, typically everything gets sandwiched in between two cutting pads. But today, because of the thickness of this embossing folder, and because it's not actually cutting, it's not going to cut into your multi-purpose platform or your cutting plates, it's going to emboss. We need to eliminate one of those cutting pads, and I need to put this straight down onto my platform with no cutting plate at all. Then I can take my cutting plate or a do not cut plate and put it on top and send it on through. Now it rolls fairly easily. You're not going to hear a lot of creaks and cracks because it's not cutting, but you may want to roll it front and back. There we go. Easy peasy mac and cheesy. Let's see what we've got. Okay, so can you see how deep this is? And this one's not so much. Now I'm able to, because it's white core paper, I'm able to sand it. And where that embossing is, the sandpaper is just going to hit that and take off some of the paper, the pink paper. Now, because you've got some that are deeply embossed and some that are very lightly embossed, this is the time when you want to use the smaller edge of your sand it gadget. So you want to take that smaller edge, and that smaller edge lets you get in there on some of the ones that are not as high because they're not as embossed. So the sandpaper's having a little harder time hitting them because you've got others that are highly raised up, highly embossed. So if you go in there with that little edge that's the time to use it, because it's going to pick up all of those pieces, all of those little hearts that it wasn't getting with the big edge. So super cute. I'm just going to trim it on out. And there you go. So you can tell this is a much higher embossing than this one right here. This one's much more flat, and you can feel it. And that gives the illusion of something really popping out at you, which is why it's called a 3D embossing folder. But you have to remember, you have to treat it differently than a standard embossing folder because it is so much thicker. It's a totally different color, so you can see that it's not the same. You look at it, go, oh, different color, why? And then you'll remember 3D embossing folder. I wonder why they put that upside down when the folder goes this way. Anyway, question to be pondered. So this is how you use a 3D embossing folder, and that is how you roll it through a Sizzix machine. Now, if you've got another manufacturer's die cutting machine, you may have to do something a little different. It might be a slightly different sandwich, but it's only paper. Grab some paper, roll with it, and see what happens. Find the sandwich that's going to work best with your die cutting machine. But so pretty and so easy. It's one of the easiest ways to do an embellishment or to add texture and definition to a project. Embossing folders are very inexpensive when you're looking at the totality of crafting. They last forever and they give you options. There's also a way of inking this up and transferring the ink. There's lots to be done with them, but just easy peasy mac and cheesy. Now, I'm gonna hope that this is almost dry. I'm gonna hope that this is almost dry. And we're gonna run this through our embossing folder. So I'm gonna line it on up. Bring it on over. Remember, I need to open up to tab 1. I'm doing a 3D embossing folder, which means no plate down at the bottom. I can use any kind of cutting plate over the top because it's not going to cut into it at all. So your do not cut plate's great, a regular cut plate, whatever you've got handy. And I'm going to send it on through. Now I'm using watercolor paper, Strathmore watercolor paper. Is it the only watercolor paper out there on the market? No, it's not. Is it one of the best? Yeah, it's a pretty good paper, especially for the price. I like to buy the product that the company, you know, when you have manufacturers that do everything, they do paper and stamps and inks and pens and dyes and the sequins, and when they do everything, can they really be good at everything? So I like to buy my stamps from a stamp company and my dyes from a dye company and my paper from paper companies, because I know that that's what they're focused on and that's what's important to them. And Strathmore is really a lovely product by a great company. All right. So, can you see that embossing? Oh, I can see this one. This one's really good. It's really high up. All right, let's take our sanding gadget, and because I had pink on here, we'll see what happens. Okay, I wiped it off on my jeans. Shh, don't tell anybody. Let's see if this is dry enough to do. Okay, So, watercolor paper's white too. And once you put the ink or your watercolor pencils over it, and you can sand that off to get that white. But what I really want you to see is that I've hit all the high ones. My sanding gadget has hit all of those high hearts, but it looks like you're missing some. And that's where those 3D, those where the lower ones are, where the sanding gadget's having trouble. So I'm gonna take the thinner edge, and I'm gonna get in there, and I'm gonna hit those so that they come up too. And then all of a sudden, where it was empty, it's now not. Let's do this area right here where it kind of looks like it's empty. But I'm gonna take the thinner or the skinnier edge and get in there and hit some of these so that they come up, and it's gonna fill this embossing folder out. See, it's coming to life now, right? But we still have down here where it just looks like there's nothing there, but I promise you, there is. Take that sanding gadget on the thinner edge, get in there and make those hearts pop. So if you've got watercolor paper and you haven't been using it because you're like, oh, I just don't watercolor anymore. You don't have to watercolor. Make your own paper. What if you're doing a guide card and you just cannot find the right paper? Grab your watercolor pencils and make it. And I would save these. I would absolutely use this somewhere on the card, whether it be on the inside, or I would do something with them because it's a perfect match. How pretty is that? And if you want a little more definition, this paper is thick. You've got the opportunity to go in there and sand a little bit more. Bring it up a little bit more. You want to see a little more? Go in there and hit it a little bit harder. Had you thought about using your watercolor paper to do a wash and then emboss and then sand? Now, I did do one earlier because I wanted to show you that it doesn't always have to be my yellows and reds. I did one in the greens. So pretty. And again, I could go in there and hit some of these a little hard to get them to come up. And it's just soft and elegant. And this is good for guys. It's hearts, but it's in the greens. You have options when you're making your own paper, and when you're using a watercolor paper or a white core paper, you can sand. Now the watercolor paper is going to let you sand a little bit more because it's thicker. If you continue to sand on regular paper and sand and sand and sand, well, you're going to put a hole in it. Eventually you will sand all the way through. But you do have beautiful ways of using perhaps paper that you've been sitting on for quite some time because you needed it for a class, or you bought it when you first started crafting, or you thought you were going to get into watercoloring but then chose not to. Make a simple, beautiful wash and emboss it and sand and see what comes of it. It's simply lovely. Absolutely lovely. You have options. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is Sizzix Dyes. There's a couple dyes that I really love, which happen to be the edge dyes. There's a few sets in the that we have for you this week in the bundle. So we have what's a book tag set. Wait till you see the samples that are made with these. I have a darling heart set But today I'm going to be using the edge sets. And remember, I told you you're going to get all 3 edges, and you do. And they're an A2 size. So there's 3 different edges here. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to start with those first. We're going to play with these first. Now, I want to show you how these edges work. So I am going to take a piece of paper. Ooh, pretty. And this is just my scrap paper. Scrap paper. I have lots and lots of scrap paper. Oodles and oodles of scrap paper. Ooh, I like that one too. Pretty. And then, maybe we'll use a black. Yeah, black. All right, well, all I can do is try. It's only paper, right? Let's see what happens. All right, first thing I want to do is I'm going to cut one of my edges. Now, what you need to know about this die is that there is no cut line here, which means it's going to cut everything out around it and all the little fallout pieces, but it's not going to cut here. And that means you have options. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut this here. And, you know, maybe we'll cut all of them at the same time. All right, let's do these 2. Maybe these 2. And let's cut this one. Here. Okay. So I've got my 2 dies and my 2 pieces of paper. My 2 pieces of paper are slightly different widths. One's a little bit wider than the other. This one's a little bit wider than this one. I'm going to put this die all the way out to the edge, as far out as I can go without coming over the edge. On this one. And this one, I'm going to keep close, close, close to this edge here. Let's bring our machine over. Now, these are dies. We do need, absolutely do need to sandwich these in between 2 cutting platforms. Do I need to use a precision base plate with these? I'm going to say these are fairly simple dies. They're not overly intricate. So I'm going to try and do it without a precision base plate. I'm definitely going to rotate, but I'm not going to use a precision base plate. So I'm going to put this one as far to the outside, to the edge as I possibly can. And I think that's, well, you know what? I'm going to do it this way. I think that that's good. Then I'm going to take this one and keep this one as close. So they're hugging opposite ends. This one is hugging this end of the paper, and this one's hugging that end of the paper. And I'll grab a do not cut plate, and a do not cut plate is just a cutting platform, a cutting plate that you try not to cut into. Why do you do that? Because it keeps everything so nice and straight, and it enables you to send your dies through your machine easy peasy, as opposed to dealing with warped plates where you're like having to get them up underneath your machine. You want to keep it easy peasy, and having a do not cut plate helps with that. Now, a little cracking, not too bad. And you may have noticed that I kept my multi-purpose platform completely closed. No tabs open, because I'm doing a wafer thin die. And did you see I rotated? Instead of opening this up and rotating my dies, I just did a full 180-degree rotate. Picked up my entire platform, rotated it, and sent it right on through. Why did I do that? Well, because every die cutting machine is different. You may own a Big Shot, I own a Big Shot, your best friend owns a Big Shot, but if we put the same dies through, They might cut differently on all three machines. My sweet spot may be towards the back here. Your sweet spot might be in the middle. You may never use your machine, hardly ever, so your machine's nice and tight. No matter where you put your die, it cuts. Or you could be like me and use the machine again and again and again, so it's a little looser. We need to come up with a better term than loose. So it may take rotating the dies so that when you push it through one way, and if it didn't cut a spot, you rotate it so when you send it through, it hits the roller in a new and unique way. It's so important. You'll find that if you're die cutting and you're not getting good clean cuts, you either one, need a precision base plate because the die is very intricate, or two, you need to rotate that die. Now you can see, that looks like a pretty good cut. Pull it out. And I kept it so close. So I only have a tiny little border here, but then I did this one. And I can cut, and I can cut. And now, look at the difference in the border widths. Which one do you want? Which one do you need? You may do a project where you need a wider border. You may do a project where you need it to be teeny, teeny, tiny. And with the Sizzix Dyes, because they do not have that cut edge here, it gives you the option of the width of that border. What do you need it to be for your project? They're not predetermining what you have to cut. They're saying you make it to what you need it to be. And that is how they work. Super simple, super easy, and super, well, super not straight. Let's try again. Woohoo. Okay. So all the little cut pieces fall out. And remember, you get 3 of these. Little cut pieces fall out. Then what do you do with it? Well, this is where having a nice little bit of scratch paper comes in handy. Let's say you have a ton of pieces of paper that are this big. Let's say that's the scrap that you have, and that's all you have left. All right, no problem. Let's see our height here so we can cut some of the height off. Not fab, but not the end of the world. What if I took and trimmed this down? And trim this down. I know you guys would all use your lovely trimmers and I freehanded. But I'm gonna be okay with my freehand just as soon as I clean that side up. Okay, there's my freehand. Woohoo! Then I have this. Maybe here. How cute is this? I could have kept the whole thing and had the black under the whole thing. I could mount that on my A2 card. I could take the one that has hardly any border and put that here instead. It just depends upon what you like better. This is how we made the cards we're doing in our make and take. We left a super wide border here to give that dimension. And it just looks really great with this paper. But you could push this out and literally have this as your border. I mean, right there as the border. What makes your heart happy? It's up to you. You don't have to decide when you buy it. You get to decide each and every time you use it because of the availability to change the overall dimension of the die cut. It is definitely wahoo kachoo. Love, love, love. But what if we wanted to use these like we used our watercolor paper? So I'm putting them on my gotcha, just so you know. This is the Simply Refined Gotcha tool. This is my version of a main attraction from Spellbinders. You should know Spellbinders manufactures this for me. I did not go around a manufacturer. I just made something that I liked better. The Spellbinders main attraction, the little area for your magnetic is so small. And then it's this weird little diamond shape, which made it difficult for us to ship. So I said, gosh, I would really like to change your design. Would you be offended if I did that? And thankfully they said no. So I made a much bigger magnetic area, much bigger. I also made it so that you can lay it flat or you can stand it up. And it holds a ton more because it's much bigger. So this is the Simply Refined Gotcha. The only place you're gonna find it is here, but people have asked, what are you putting your dies on over there? This is it, and it's exclusive to me because it's mine, I designed it. Wahoo! Okay, so let's pull out some watercolor paper again. And let's play, oh, I don't know. What do we want to play with? I don't know. I haven't used this color yet. And I'm partial to my yellows, but I have no idea what this color is. So we'll just give it a whirl. And again, I'm just going to put some color down. And I like doing the whole thing. I can always use this later. But I just like doing a whole panel because then I can decide what parts I like and if I need to add more color, and then I can use whatever I didn't cut, I can use that later. A little bit of water, and then let's let the water do its thing. It's kind of a maroony color. And you can go in circles. You can go in straight lines. The idea is to just get that pencil into a paint. Oh, somebody just texted me. That's nice. Do I dare see who it is? Forgot to turn my phone off. Should we see who it is? Oh. Okay, it was just an SMS staff. That's good. Okay, back to my clock. Yay! All right. So, I'm letting the water do its thing. And I don't want it to be even or symmetrical. I want it dark in some areas and light in some areas. And if I really wanted to, I could come back, and I don't want to put my watercolor pencil into my water. No, no, no. But if I wanted to add more color at this point, I could do some what's called palette painting, and look at how beautiful that color is. Is that gorgeous? And I could go in and add some more color. That's a really pretty color. All right, I'm good. Maybe just a hair bit more really dark yellow somewhere, because I really like that dark yellow right there. Okay, what do we think? Kind of a mishmash. I get it. Totally understand. But now we can take our dyes and if I put one here, multi-purpose platform completely closed. Cut plate. Oh, just put my finger in it. Cut plate. And let's do this one a little further out. I'm going to do this one right on the edge. Do not cut plate over the top. Oh, Stacey. And let's send it on through. So roll, 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 roll. Or if you have an express, press that button. Remember, I'm going to do 180-degree rotate and send on back. If I was just doing one die at a time, I could absolutely open it up and just rotate it myself and just do a twist and then send it back through. But because I'm doing more than one die, let's see what we get. Now, what I want you to notice is, I don't know if you can see that there's now texture added into my watercolor. Okay, so let's cut. Let's cut this one there, and this one there. So now I've made my own. Let's see. How pretty is that? You made your own paper. You made your own watercolor paper. Lots of companies sell 12 by 12 paper that have the look of a watercolor wash over it. But gosh, if you've already got the paper in your stash, or if you're limited on funds and you are not able to always go out and buy the exact cardstock that you need, using watercolors is an easy way to do it. So I've got that one. And I've got this one I cut a little bit off. I got a little crazy there, but that's okay. I'll pull the pieces out later. So I've got the two. One with no border, one with a wide border. And I still have this piece left to do something with, and this one. But because I put the dies through while the paper was still wet, it left this little bit of a texture. Can you see that? And now you may like the texture, and if you like the texture, well, by George, you can grab a baby wipe and you can go in there and you can actually start lifting some of this color. On watercolor paper, you can do this. On regular paper, not so much. It's going to eat away. It's going to make it go all bally on top. You're going to start disintegrating it. But the watercolor paper lets you go in there and actually remove some of the color if you would like to. Or at the same time, you can go back in and add more color if you want to. Maybe you want a totally different look. Maybe you don't want as much whatever burgundy that was. Maybe you want more of a red wash over the whole thing. Maybe you want that vibrant red. You have options with the watercolor paper because it's meant to hold that water. It doesn't just disintegrate. And now I've changed my color. And if I wanted to, I could go back in and pick some of that up and add a little bit of texture, some highs and some lows, and make it to what you want it to be. And then I still have my die, which still fits. I could probably get both of them on there if I really tried hard. Ooh, by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Oh. Let's bring this one over. So there is no waste. No waste at all. Because you just change it to what you want it to be for the next time. And I could put this piece away and use it 6 months from now. That's why I like doing a whole sheet. Because I can put it away and come back to it and it's done. If I want to add a little more color to it, I add a little more color to it 6 months later. And by that time your paper's dry and you would be able to use your pencil directly to your paper. Now remember when I said if I had one, I could just do a rotate, just like that, and send it on back. And let's see if I've got a clean cut. Oh, looks pretty good. All the little fallout pieces. So now you've got one that has a definite watercolory look to it with the yellows and the reds going through it. And this one's a little more solid in color. What do you like better? You can have both. You really can. And if you're not using watercolor paper, that's okay too. Try it with a super thick cardstock, at least 100 pound, and go in there. You won't be able to keep adding water and taking away and adding water and taking away, but you're not limited to having to use watercolor paper. I don't want you to think that that is a necessity. It isn't. But if you've got it already in your stash and you're not using it, why not? Think of the things you can do with it besides painting watercolors. You can do more with it than just stamp and then paint in. You have options here, and they're all beautiful options. Love them. And love that I was able to get 2 different widths, same die, but 2 different border widths, which almost gives it 2 different looks, right? And yes, you can put them back to back. Because there's no cut line, I could cut it back to back to make a wide border. Absolutely, because there's no cut line, which means I could take this and put it here and cut if my paper was long enough, and I would have a border that has both sides. Put it right up to it and cut it. Again, options. You know what? I'm going to do that really quick just so you can see it. I'm going to make sure that that you get what I'm laying down. I forget who says that. Are you getting what I'm laying down? And let's use something a little. Oh, that's a super pretty color, right? So let's bring it over. I'm just going to trim it on down. Let's go this way first. And send it on through. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And because it's just one piece, I can absolutely just do a little bit of a rotate and send it on back. I'm not using a precision base plate because it's not overly intricate. You really want to save that precision base plate for your intricate dies. Oh, looks like I got a pretty good clean cut. Okay, so I'm going to cut here. Gosh, that's a pretty color paper. And I'm going to cut here. Then I'm going to bring my machine back, put my paper down, and I'm going to cut this way. Let's clean it out just a little bit. I'm going to put it right there. And I'm going to cut this way. Please don't move. Okay, let's give it a whirl and see what happens. And let's rotate it. Now I could leave a border, a width of a border any width I want. I could have left a border in between the 2 dies wide enough to put a piece of ribbon through it. Ta-da! Poof. Now I could have left this little line super wide so that you could have put a piece of ribbon right through that border. I could have left that border this wide. So that I could have put a piece of ribbon right here. Ta-da! Darling, isn't it? Oh my gosh, and you put a few of these together and you can make cute little cupcake wrappers and all sorts of stuff. All right, so what did we do today? We talked about what a 3D embossing folder is and how to use it and why they're different than other types of embossing folders, and that you can use it with just plain paper, white core, make it sandable, and you've got ones that are a little bit lower and ones that are a little bit higher, but then you can also take watercolors, your watercolor pencils, and create your own palette and create your own paper to make it happen, and just beautiful. Especially if you're dealing with something maybe for a guy or somebody who has a favorite color and you're struggling to find that exact paper, or you're on a budget. For $14.99, the pencils are inexpensive enough and give you enough colors per palette so that you can, with some white paper in this, be making lots of background papers. And that's a much more economical way than trying to buy lots of different colored cardstocks if you're on a budget. And because you can sand, you can gain that texture and that dimension and that element that you love so much. So we played with 3D embossing folders, and we have 2 of them for you today. And then we played with our dies. Now I played with the borders today just because they make my heart happy. And I used watercolor paper and watercolors to make different ones. And I showed you how you can double them up and how you can make that border with anything that makes your heart happy. How wide do you want that border? Do you want to be able to put a beautiful piece of ribbon down the center of it and still have an edge of it showing? Absolutely. They have given you options. They've given you the opportunity to be creative and decide what works best for your project. And you have to always appreciate that when it's not dictated to you what you have to do. I don't do well with being dictated to. I want to sit down and I want you to give me the product and then leave me alone. That's what happens when manufacturers come. Hold on, I have to tilt up because I'm talking to you and I feel weird when I'm not looking at you. So when manufacturers come and they bring product to show me, like I've got lots of appointments coming in December because Creativation is coming up. So what they do, they're very smart. They put it all out on the table and they say nothing. And then I start to play. And they could be here for 5 or 6, sometimes 8 hours. And all they do is watch me play with their product. I don't want them to tell me about it. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to know what it's supposed to do, what it's not supposed to do. I want to figure it out on my own. And more often than not, they're sitting there taking notes. I'm like a focus group for them. And they're taking notes because I will think of things that their products can do that sometimes they didn't even know their products could do. It's like, hello. So this is getting to be my favorite time of the year because this is when manufacturers come and see me with all the new stuff. And I'm really not sure if it's an appointment for me or an appointment for them because then they'll go back sometimes and change the product based off of what I did with it. But if it makes the product better, well then I'm happy to have played with it. This makes it better. Love, love, love. All right, I have got the most amazing, well, before we get to samples, I always do that. Before we get to samples, let me show you the product that we have on YouTube Yummies. First off, the Sizzix Dyes. I know it doesn't look like much. Trust me, I get that. Wait until you see the samples we made with this bookmark. Truly, you get 2 different dyes. Well, there's 3 different dyes. So you get the frame and you get 2 inserts. Wait till you see what we did with this. The picture here, pay no attention. Oh my gosh. Now this is the one we used today. It's like $9.99. And then it's on a YouTube Yummy. And you get all 3 of them. I wonder where they got that idea. And I wonder where they got that price point. But that's okay. It makes everybody's heart happy because it is affordable. Then I have the stunning heart. Again, wait till you see the samples we've made with this. Adorable. And I have got 2, not 1, but 2 3D embossing folders for you. We will have all of these on a YouTube Yummy, and we will also have an I Want It All for all 5 of them. You cannot go wrong. The price is rock star, and what you can do with them is amazing. Again, samples are gonna just make your heart very, very happy. Then we have the new paintbrushes from Tonic. Love them. Love that you get everything you need in one set and that it's affordable. Is it the finest paintbrush set on the market? No. Is it $79.99? No. It's $12.99 and you get everything you need. And it's by Tonic. So you know Tonic Studios and you know Gary. They do a beautiful job there. They provide quality product at a fair price. So woohoo to Gary for this. And also, their watercolor pencils. I saw these January of this year. Can you believe I saw these? I knew about these January. That is a year ago almost. And they have just come out. I have been waiting for these since January. And about every 2 months I send off an email. Hello, remember those watercolor pencils you showed me in January? Are they here yet? And finally I got a reply. It said, yes, they're here, Stacey. So, because those are that we carry the first 2 sets from Nuvo, and now we've got the next 3 sets. Very excited to finally have them. But it took since January. I saw these like January 5th this year, and now it's November 15th. So good things come to those who wait. And I waited, so I'm glad I did. And then we have Strathmore paper. So I have got the watercolor paper. It's cold press. It's beautiful paper, and 25 sheets, and I have it in 2 sizes. I have it in 5x7 and 8.5 by 11. So those are also, these are not on the YouTube Yummy sale. They'll be in the YouTube Yummy sale, but no discount. I can't do any lower than what we've got them. I don't have any special woohoo ka-choos with Strathmore. I'm working on it. As soon as I have some woohoo ka-choos where we can then discount their product a little bit for the YouTube Yummies, I absolutely will. Okay, now samples. I am going to start with the layout because last time I almost forgot Claire's layout. So I have got a layout for you. Not sure who did it. I think Claire might. Oh, see, look at, what is this? This is that border doubled up and left with a little bit of a border and bling to go in the center. How cute is that? And then here it is here. This must be the authentic paper. Super cute. All right, so there's our layout using the Sizzix Dyes. And I didn't forget about it. Now I have got more samples than I could possibly shake a stick at. So we're just gonna get through them. How cute is that? See, watercolor, sanded. Darling, right? And then a note card. Now, this is a longer die. I'm not sure which die this is. I'm gonna have to look this up. I'm gonna put that one to the side because I'm not exactly sure what die that is. Because this is done. Oh, maybe it's the bookmark. I bet these are the bookmarks. Look at how cute is this altered art piece. Done with the bookmarks. That is exactly what that is. Well, wasn't that so stinking clever? That was done with the bookmarks. Told you those bookmarks were good, right? Here we go. Look at how beautiful is that. Done with the edge die, done with the bookmarks. Oh my gosh, these are fabulous. And another mixed media. Done with one of the 3 edges. Okay, and remember I said those bookmarks are amazing? Hello. Tie your little bow around it and make your gatefold card. That was done with the bookmarks, right? They don't look, they just don't give you, the picture doesn't do them justice. How cute is that? Then we have one of the 3D embossing folders with all the little hearts. This is the newest one. And then again with the bookmarks for you to put some journaling in. Look at how pretty, and it holds the little note card so you can write your to-do list here and your don't forgets for your journal. And remember that heart I showed you? Ta-da! Sizzix die, including the little banner. how darling is this? That was one of the dies that I was using today, and this is the third one that comes in that set. How darling is that? $9.99 for that set, less 20%. Holy smokes, artichokes. Okay, I'm gonna pick up the pace because I've got a lot to go through. So pretty. Again, putting them together. That's one piece with a border and then a piece of ribbon covering. How beautiful is this? Done for Christmas. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so watercolor, sanded, die cut. So cute. See, and here's a nice guy card. Done with the hearts, but with the watercoloring to give that washed look, and then sanded. So we did it in this color. And here. And here. Okay, I'm getting there. Then we have our next set of samples. Pretty, right? Or does it go this way? No, it goes this way. Just needs a sentiment and we're good. And then we have a thank you card done with the 3D heart embossing folder. And here we inked up the 3D embossing folder. We ran some ink over the top of it instead of sanding it to get that metallic on those hearts. And here we did a vintage card where we double layered the border, but then took a piece of the border, snipped it out to make a photo corner. Haha, right? And then here we have Hello Love, done with the 3D embossing folder and the Sizzix die. And we have a super pretty happy anniversary card, again, done with the Sizzix die and the 3D embossing folder. And then we just have plain cute. Isn't that darling? I think honorary SMS girl Katie made this one, I think. So cute. And then again, left a super wide border. Cut here, left that huge border and put the flowers on top. The die cut flowers on top. So Sizzix die here, Sizzix die there. And then how cute is this? The girls just did a great job. And this just says fun and spring and happy. Just so cute. Okay, last pile. Last pile, and I really can't even tell you which ones I like the most. I just don't know. Oh, looks good, right? Inked, die cut. Just darling. And this is just a happy card. It's just a happy card. Simple happy birthday card using watercolor pencils, done with a 3D embossing folder, and then just a little tag that says happy birthday. How simple and easy. Sometimes simple is just perfect. Got got the border down here. The girls really went to town. They really liked these dies. And then they took the bookmark dies to do this one. How creative in making a complete border all the way around. That was pretty smart. And remember, gatefold out of the bookmarks with a vellum backing. And gatefold. So pretty. And then the thank you card. How beautiful is that? And simple. And the embossing folder on the background. Very shabby chic. And wait for it, wait for it. Are you waiting for it? We actually have a bookmark. Two of them. Using the bookmark die and using the heart die. Oh, I think I even see a few more bookmarks under there. So funny. Little mixed media going on, little stenciling with the die, watercoloring. And I'm right, we have a few more bookmarks. All right, you guys. I'm gonna tilt on up. And I'm gonna tilt on back. All right, so we learned a little bit, hopefully, about watercolor pencils, about what you can do with watercolor paper, especially if you already own it, but you don't have to. You can use a heavyweight cardstock as well. How to incorporate 3D embossing folders and how to use on the edge types of dies to the best of your ability, giving you the opportunity to be as creative as you want to be. Remember, it's only paper. That's all you're using is paper. And finish what you start, because I promise you, when you're done with your project, you'll walk away from it and you go, I'm not giving that to anybody. And then you're going to come back the next day and go, that's not so bad. Now, all of the product, except for the Strathmore, is going to be on sale at 20% off. So you can find it under our YouTube Yummies category. And a big thank you to Tonic Studios and Sizzix for, well, definitely to Tonic. I love Sizzix too, but really to Tonic, I'm so glad they're finally here. Oh, you made a girl wait and wait and wait, but it's okay. I love them. I'm happy with waiting. And actually to Sizzix, because they helped send some of the samples. They were kind enough to send us some samples, although my girls got started with these and just would not stop. Now, where are you going to find all of this product? You're going to find it at scrapbookingmadesimple.com. scrapbookingmadesimple.com. If you already have a local retailer, you may be able to find some of the Sizzix dies there. I'm not so sure about the watercolor pencils yet, but you may be able to find some of the dies at your local retailer. So if you want to visit them first, please do. You will not hurt my heart. And all of those other online companies out there too, I'm sure would appreciate you supporting your local independent retailer first, and then coming online to shop with us. But if you can't find a local independent retailer, then we certainly do appreciate you shopping Scrapbooking Made Simple. I am feeling pretty good. I'm getting back to normal. I've got Black Friday to start getting all prepped for and telling you all about. For Black Friday, we've got Marabou, we've got Stampendous, and Hero Arts. Are you ready? OMG. But that's not yet. And remember, we're going to be starting to process Shop That Did Not Hop orders within about the next 2 weeks. So stay tuned for updates, as I'll do them as often as I possibly can. All right, you guys, it's me, Stacey, Scrapbooking Made Simple, scrapbookingmadesimple.com. It was so good to see you. Bye, everybody.